Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Seagate Gaming Academy. Today, we are joined by Landon Gorbenko and Chris Lama. Today, we're talking about the very, very fundamentals, the things that you need to do to become a competitive player. And we're talking stuff outside of in-game play. So, first, let's start with Lama. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here. Guys, I'm really excited for this. So my name is Chris Lama. I'm the co-founder of Shattered Dreams Esports. We are one of the sponsors for the Waves Academy. We're going to be actually looking for a player or a content creator to come out of this academy. Ooh. So I think it's really important that we're talking about these kinds of fundamentals and what we're looking for from guys here and how we can help develop you even farther to add to your career.
Amazing. All right, Landon, could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, for sure. So I work as a mental performance coach in esports, which means I pretty much deal with anything that relates to in-game performance, but isn't mechanics training. And that's things like focus, communication, leadership skills. And these things are really starting to get important in esports just because talent alone no longer makes you successful in the industry. You don't get a position on a top tier team by just being good at the game. You have to have just a holistic set of skills that allow you to thrive both in and out of game. And overall, that's just what teams are looking for now. So that's where I come in and train kids.
Ooh, some fantastic insights there as well. All right, so let's dive right in. All right, so let's talk about this. Okay, if someone is new and they're just getting into the esports scene, the competitive gaming space, like what kind of skills do they have to look to develop outside of the game? Where we're not talking building skills, we're not talking like aim or reaction time. What types of things are we looking at?
Yeah, so some of the big skills that you're going to want to look at right off the bat is one, leadership. You're also going to want to learn things like communication skills. You want to learn things like how coachable or how fast you learn. You're going to want to learn how to be disciplined with your schedule, your routines, your ability to take breaks even is an important one. And then also things like touching on your emotion regulation, because when you're in game and you're getting heated, the feelings or the emotions that you're feeling in game do impact the way that you make decisions and the way that you output behavior. So stuff along those lines are things that I would consider almost vital to success within esports, and you almost need to put as much time in training those things as you would training box building in Fortnite or lane control in League of Legends. They're just as important as in-game mechanics.
What do you think about that, Lama?
The one about communication right there. There's communication between your teammates, and there's also communication between the staff that are on the team, whether it be your GM or your coach or whoever it is. So when we dive a little bit deeper into that, it's going to be a huge one for me. Like Landon said, in-game skills, obviously they're important at high-tier play. We are an academy right now, so we are looking to develop those skills as we will. But those other skills that he talked about are so key right now to make sure that we can work on those. Long-term, that's going to help even in your career.
Landon, you said something about it being as equally important as your in-game skills. So are you saying it's like 50-50 with these kind of things and with the in-game as well?
All right. So the reason why I say they're as important is because you can spend as much time as you want grinding away and improving your in-game skills. But if competition day comes or scouting day comes or practices come and you fail to some kind of communication breakdown, your emotions get the best of you, you get a little bit of performance anxiety, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter how good you were at the game. It only matters how good you are in this moment. So you have to be able to handle all these other skills outside the game, like being able to communicate with your team. What happens if things don't go as planned early in the game? How are you going to recover from that? Because that could make or break you for that day. So even though it's maybe not like a 50-50, the importance of it is just as much.
Mm. And then something else that was also mentioned is that a lot of orgs these days are not looking at just your actual skills in the game. Lama, could you tell us a little bit about, why you're looking at these sort of other things and why an organization would be looking at stuff outside of that?
For sure. I mean, for me, that communication aspect's huge. And even so beyond goes with how you're communicating on social media. I didn't even add that to my first little thing there. So we want to make sure that you've got a good head on your shoulders and that you're representing yourself and the brand that you're going to be partnered with respectfully, right? I want to make sure that you are talking to your teammates respectfully and your coaches, and you're having conversations that might not be easy to have, and we're doing it mature and it's just, it's fair when you're communicating. I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah. When you're scouting a player, does how much of that sort of those things factor into your decision?
That's a big decision. That's a big part of our decision. You could be the best player in the world to go off on Twitter, go off on social media, and then you're going to lose your opportunity the snap of a finger just because how you are representing yourself. It's all about being PR friendly, front facing, right? As much as possible. If the brand you're going to represent is not that kind of brand, but when we're talking about our teams, we're generally try to PR train most of our guys to make sure that they're being professional. Again, like I said before, it comes down to your future, and this could be your career or moving on to your career. You want to make sure you're presenting yourself properly.
Awesome. All right. So, we went through a couple of the key sort of skills that you need outside of the game. Let's just run through those real quick. So, one of them was a factor of coachability and team play and communication. So, Landon, maybe you could tell us about why this in particular is important and what can people do to improve these skills?
Yeah, so from my perspective, coachability is probably going to be the number one predictor of who's going to be successful within any game. It's not League of Legends, Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty specific. It's any game, any domain. Coachability is going to be the number one factor for who makes it and who doesn't. The reason being is because being the best takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of skill and it takes a lot of time. We simply don't have the time as humans to learn it all by ourselves. We have to be able to take in information from other people that know things better than we do. So the more coachable you are, the more information you're going to get from people that know more than you, right? So let's say Chris here was my Fortnite coach and I was trying to learn everything by myself. My skill development will probably go just a little bit slowly like this, but if I start taking Chris's advice, it's going to go like this, right? So the more coachable I am, the more willing I am to take on advice from others, the faster I'm going to develop. And when you look at any professional sport or any professional esport, or even CEOs like Steve Jobs, they all have coaches to some degree. They're the best at what they do already, right? Like Michael Phelps, you got people like Ninja, you got the CEO of Apple, I can't remember his name right now. What's his?
Steve Jobs, Tim Cook.
Steve Jobs. They all took coaches. They're still the best. So how are they getting coaches? Well, they've learned to be coachable. So that just means they're in a constant state of trying to learn from others. And so if you're constantly in that state of trying to learn from others, well, you're going to learn faster than everybody who's not doing that. So that's why coachability is probably the number one factor for who's going to make it in esports and who's not going to make it.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's some amazing insights right there. Hope everyone took some notes, maybe, Next topic, we got some rest, fatigue management, burnout. Like these are very common things that you see in esports, and I think it's an important factor as well. Chris, have you seen a lot of that in your competitive play with your players?
I see it a lot when there's a lot of events going on, a lot of the smaller events that guys are trying to get into. I don't think our guys generally in the past have focused on what the next big event is. They're just trying to do all of these small events. And if they lose one of these small events, they get a little bit, put down and they get upset and they don't want to play for a week. I'm going to take a break instead of working with a guy like Landon or working with their coaches on developing to get better for the next thing. And you see it all the time on Twitter, like I'm taking a break and a twit longer and that kind of stuff. So we want to work with a Landon and we want to work with our coaches to make sure that that kind of stuff is not happening and how to avoid it or how to work around it when it is happening.
Landon, do you have any insights on what players can do to sort of improve their sort of fatigue management and burnout?
So, I mean, one of the biggest things that doesn't happen in esports often is taking breaks. Obviously, that's when you think of rest, you automatically think of breaks. And when we're looking at what fatigue is in esports, it's not the same as what fatigue would be in traditional sports, or if you're going to the gym, or if you're going on runs, right? When you're lifting weights, when you're running, when you're playing traditional sports, your muscles run out of energy eventually, and you fatigue out, and you're forced to take a break. Within esports, your brain never really runs out of energy, right? Like it can continue to go and go and go. But as the process goes on, your brain is trying to shut it down in a way. And the way it does that is it kills motivation, it kills focus, and it makes you very frustrated at that game. And it's just this constant evaluation process that's happening internally. So the longer you spend on that grind, the more days, the more hours you put consecutively together, the more likely your brain is going to fatigue out. So structuring your day so that you have breaks, I recommend there's 3 degrees of breaks that I recommend. One is 2 to 5 minutes every hour, and then if you have a training day, break your training day into blocks so that you have a break in the middle. So that's degree number 2, and then the third degree of breaks would be once a week. So every Sunday or every Wednesday or whatever works for your schedule, just have a full-on hiatus from the game, relax, recover. That way you can come in and you can avoid the burnout, you can avoid the fatigue, and you can really just stay more mentally sharp over a long period of time.
Wow, that's those are some great points. Actually, some exercises that people can implement right away. So that's fantastic.
But when you say a break, I'm gonna hop in here for a second. When you say a break, do you mean like I'm a Rocket League player, for example? Should I be taking a break from Rocket League, or should I be taking a break from gaming in general, or competitive gaming in general?
So yeah, good. That's a really good question because I know there's going to be a lot of people that have that question. Ideally, it would be a full-on break, right? So remember how I mentioned there's 3 degrees. The 2 to 5 minutes that you're taking a break, that should be away from the screen. What's happening when you game is that your body is getting a little bit kind of locked up, your muscles are getting locked up, your joints are getting locked up, and you want to move. So you don't want to put 5 minutes into doing another game or doing a practice round or doing some aim labs or whatever. You want to get up, you want to move, you want to do some stretching. Within that degree 2 break, which is your 2 different blocks of training and then a big break in the middle, again, that should be completely away from the screen. The 3rd degree, where I said take a full day away, that's where it gets a little bit harder because who wants to take a full day away from gaming? So ideally, yes, you would get away from all games completely. You do something else, you do a different hobby, you spend time with friends, family, you're out playing sports, you're hiking, whatever it might be. But I know that's not realistic sometimes, and sometimes we're still going to play games. So then just remove yourself from that competitive drive. Give your brain a break to just relax, enjoy the game, have fun, play with friends, do some casuals, just whatever
play
allows
casually.
Your brain.
Yeah,
Casual gaming. Just have fun, basically. Don't grind. Have fun.
So yeah, two different ways to play games, right? Competitive aspect, and then just the casual, for fun aspect. And competitive, as fun as gaming seems, competitive is stressful, right? It's not always fun. So
yeah, well, competitive is a skill-based thing, right? Like it's something we value that we want to get better at. The longer we do that, that's a very draining task, and eventually we're going to get tired. We're going to need those breaks. So if you can't get away from the game completely, at least play casually so that it's not as intense.
All right. And then something that, sort of ties into that, and like it's something that happens to me all the time, which is, I'm playing a game and I'll lose and I'll just be so angry and I'll be like, I can't stop playing until I win a game. And then even maybe when I win a game, I still won't be satisfied, and just my emotions are all over the place. Why is it important to control these emotions, and like what exercises can you really do to help there?
Is this for Chris or me?
Let's go with Chris first. Do you have anything for that?
I have a personal rule that I follow when I'm playing. If I'm playing a casual competitive setting, so when I'm practicing for my league games, I have like a 2 loss in a row rule for Rocket League. So if I lose 2 games in a row, I take a short break. I come back, and when I come back, it goes back and resets, right? And And then depending on how that goes, if I'm losing like 10 games, then it's not my night to be playing Rocket League. I'll go and pick up something else. But for me, I don't necessarily get too tilted when I'm playing games, which is like when I'm playing traditional sports, I'm the opposite. I get pretty upset when we're losing. But for me, for gaming, I mostly do it from a casual competitive scene. I play mid-range in most games, so for me, it's not a big deal if I'm losing. It's going to happen. But definitely for the guys that we're dealing with, I think Landon's going to have the best answer for this question.
All right, Landon, what do you think?
I mean, I'm the opposite with Chris. I'm incredibly competitive when it comes to esports, which makes me tilted sometimes, right? Like, games aren't always going to go the way I want. Whether it's my teammates doing issues or me doing issues and blaming my teammates for it, I'm going to get tilted. Despite my job being to teach people how not to get tilted, I'm even going to get tilted. It's part of human nature that we are sometimes going to fail at certain things. And I'm a League of Legends player, so just going to build a little bit of an example quickly. If I play a game and my teammates are doing really bad or I'm doing really bad and we just get absolutely blown out and we lose really badly, and then I'm going to queue up for another game, nothing from that last game influences my next game other than the emotions that I bring with it, right? And so this is why emotion management is very important, because if I lost that last game really badly and I'm queuing up for another one, I don't want to bring all the negativity with me, because my brain or my mentality is going to go to into like a negative state of reference, and that's going to influence my decision making process in the next game.
Well, that's how you go on a 5-game losing streak, right?
That's how you get into loser's queue, right? You bring on your emotions from the previous game. So this is why it's incredibly important for emotion management, so that we can reduce the impact that previous games are going to have on our next games, because we don't want that. We want to win always. I always want to win because I'm incredibly competitive. The number one thing you can be doing to kind of combat this is just building awareness. The negative emotions that pop up and the actions that come out of them are often very autopilot, right? Like, you get angry, that anger takes over, that takeover makes you do bad things in game, you lose. And that process happens very automatically. We don't necessarily realize until after the fact. So if you can learn to become aware of when you are getting angry in game, that's going to be the number one way of you stopping that process. We want to interrupt that process, so becoming aware of how you're experiencing things that game will help you to interrupt it. And when you catch that awareness, one thing that you can be asking yourself is, do I want to feel this way? Chances are no. You don't want to be upset, you don't want to be frustrated, you don't want to be losing.
Right.
If you ask yourself that, it's very hard to continue down that process. You then want to find a way to reset your mentality and get back into the game. So awareness, find ways to get yourself aware of that process, and then ask yourself, do I want to feel this way?
And then sort of provide a break from that, and that can probably be different for everybody, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So we went through a couple topics today. I just want to sum up some of the things that the people that are new to esports can be doing, exercises that they can do to start improving in these aspects right now today as they go through the league and go through the academy and just sort of improve as they go. So first thing we had was coachability and learning. Just, try to soak information from people who know, and soak it like a sponge, and you will learn it exponentially faster than you would by yourself. So number 2, for fatigue management, we were talking about taking breaks, and we were talking about implementing 3 layers of breaks: short breaks while you're playing, sort of breaks during the day for larger amounts of time, and then maybe 1 break day during the week. If I got that right. All right. Last one, we're talking about managing your emotions. So what's important here is that you become aware that you have that salt running through your veins, that you're starting to become this toxic person that you probably don't want to be. It's not enjoyable for you, and it's not enjoyable for the people around you, your teammates, your coaches, whoever it may be. So become aware of it and find a way for yourself to be able to step away from that situation and reset instead of bringing that into your next game. Do I got those right?
Looks
You
good.
nailed
Sounds
it.
good.
You're on your way to the LCS.
I'm going to ask
Amazing.
Landon one question.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about me as a player recording myself and then going back and reviewing it after to see how I reacted to certain plays and certain things that my teammates are saying and whatnot?
So this kind of ties into one of the things that I was saying earlier, where the out of game skills are almost as important as the in game skills. If we're playing any game, everybody does VOD reviews, right? We do VOD reviews in order to improve our in game skill. VOD reviews don't always show how you're reacting to things because you're looking at the in game stuff. If you have your face cam and your voice recorded, you get to watch how you react to certain things. And when you watch yourself react to certain things, that's how you can get some of that awareness that we were just talking about. Because you can catch yourself getting tense or upset or frustrated. You can see it in your face. I guarantee it. You can, your jaw starts clenching or your eyes start twitching a lot. You can see the frustration happening, and then you can start better understanding kind of like how it happens to you, the process that it unfolds, which makes you a little bit more aware of when you're getting tilted. So definitely do it.
Awesome. Yeah. No, so that was a technique that we learned in our marketing program, right? When pitching to a client, the first thing we did when we were preparing for our pitch is we got our decks together, and then we went to go present it in front of our phone or in front of the mirror. You just record yourself and you start to learn those little tics that you have. And by the time you go and present it to the people, you're just like, you fire through it, no problem. So once we get by those little things, I think we'll make ourselves a better player for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. Was there any other sort of maybe tips, tricks, anything else you guys wanted to add in terms of sort of development outside of the in-game stuff?
Chris?
I think for the first step, I think this is a great opening for these guys to learn about. And then just like we said, we got to put it to practice now, right?
Put it to practice.
It's easy to talk, harder to do.
Right.
And we'll be working with these guys one-on-one and in group settings to make sure that we're actually going over these and learning from them as well, right? We want to get into group games and record comms and record gameplay to go over little things. And obviously, if any of the guys in the academy are having any issues with what we talked about, you've got the 3 guys right here that we can start a conversation with, and it'll be good.
And I think that's very important to note as well. Everything that we've sort of talked about today, a lot of it revolved around being around teammates, being around coaches, being around people, and communicating these types of things. So I think it's very important to note that if you do want to improve, to find like-minded people, to find an ecosystem, a support system where you can receive this kind of help. And if you don't know how to do these things, that maybe they can help you to learn or to point you in the right direction, right? So I think that's a really great distinction to make. And yeah, the last thing, if anyone wants to reach out for some help, or if they want some one-on-one coaching or want to get more in depth with it, where can they reach you guys? We'll start with Chris Lama. For
sure. You guys can find me in the Waves Discord for inside the academy area, or you can just ping me. It's Lama, an easy one to find. I think I'm one of the admins in there.
Lama.
Lama. Yeah. If not, on Twitter, my DMs are open for everyone. It's Chris Lama or chris@amukaesports.com if you want to send me a formal email.
That's awesome. All right, Landon, where can everybody find you?
Probably the best place if you're wanting to get in touch with me or learn some things or have any questions is definitely Twitter. My DMs are open, and that's just at Vertex Psyc. And I'll usually respond fairly quickly. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer depending on how busy I am, but I always try to get back to messages, but Twitter's probably the best.
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And hope everyone out there can learn something from this video. So please, we'll implement, try to get these things going in your regular lives or in your regular esports training. And yeah, we'll see you again in the next one.
Hey, it's Mike here. I hope you enjoyed your masterclass today. Here's a fun fact on Seagate FireCuda 520 SSD. Did you know that PCIe Gen 4 is 45% faster than previous generations? This means you achieve speeds and reduce latency time in any gameplay. That's awesome. I'll see you next week.